The streets were wet from the evening rain, and the city seemed unusually quiet except for the occasional honk of a distant car. A teenage boy who had spent most of his life without a proper home walked slowly along the sidewalk. His clothes were worn and his shoes had holes that let the water in, but he moved carefully, keeping his head low to avoid the few people still walking around. Life on the streets had taught him to be alert, to notice everything and to trust very few. Most nights he slept in abandoned buildings or under bridges, always keeping one eye open. He had just scavenged some leftover bread from a small store dumpster when he heard a soft, hesitant voice calling for help. He froze for a moment, unsure if it was real or just the wind echoing between buildings. The voice was faint but urgent. He looked around and saw a small figure standing near the edge of the street. It was a girl not more than 12 or 13 years old. She was dressed neatly in clothes that looked clean and expensive, completely unlike his own. Her hands moved slowly in front of her as if she was trying to feel where she was, and she seemed completely unaware of the cars passing by. Without thinking twice, the boy rushed toward her. "Hey, be careful," he shouted, waving at the cars to slow down. The girl startled and turned slightly toward him. Her eyes, though unseeing, seemed to follow him, and her lips quivered as she spoke. I can't see. I don't know where I am." He nodded, kneeling down to her level. "It's okay. I'll help you. Don't worry, you're safe with me." There was a calmness in his voice, something he rarely felt in his own life, but it surprised him to feel it now. He held out his hands and she hesitated before placing hers in his. The rain was falling harder now, drumming on the sidewalk and on their clothes. The boy guided her slowly, step by step, careful not to let her stumble. He noticed how small and fragile she felt in his hands, and for some reason, he felt a responsibility he had never felt for anyone before. He didn't know her name yet, but he knew he couldn't leave her alone. Not tonight, not ever. As they walked, he asked gently, "Can you tell me your name?" She sniffled, and after a few moments, she whispered, "Lily." "Okay, Lily," he said, smiling to reassure her. "I'm going to help you get home." "Do you know where that is?" I'm not sure. I got lost," she admitted, her voice small and scared. He could feel her fear, and it made him focus even more. He knew the streets well, the alleys, the shortcuts, the safer paths, but he had never carried anyone through them before. Every step was careful, avoiding puddles and broken glass. He noticed people staring at them from across the street, some curious, some judgmental. He ignored them. Right now, Lily was all that mattered. She leaned slightly on him as they moved, trusting him completely even though she didn't know him. It amazed him how quickly she had let go of fear and clung to his presence for safety. As they passed a busy intersection, he held her close and a taxi swerved around them, honking loudly. His heart raced, but he stayed calm, guiding her through the danger until they were safely on the other side. Finally, they stopped for a moment under the shelter of a closed shop's awning. Both of them were wet, tired, and cold, but there was a strange sense of relief in the air. Lily shivered slightly, and he offered his jacket, which was threadbare but better than nothing. She took it carefully, wrapping it around herself as best as she could. "Thank you," she whispered. I didn't know what to do." "You don't have to thank me," he said softly. I just couldn't leave you there. Not alone." They continued walking slowly as he tried to gather clues about where she might live. She told him she had been out with her father earlier in the day, but she didn't remember the way back. She mentioned her house was big and that her father worked a lot, but she didn't give him much more. He thought about how different her life must be from his own. He had never had a real home, never had a family to worry about him or care if he was safe. Yet here he was, carrying a stranger through the rainy streets, feeling a strange kind of pride and purpose. As they walked, he noticed small details about her. Her hands were soft, her hair neatly tied, and she spoke with a gentle tone. It was clear she had never faced the dangers of the streets. He realized that if he hadn't been there, she could have been hurt or lost for hours, or worse. The thought made him walk faster, urging her gently, "Almost there, Lily. Just a little more." They had to pass through a park, dark and quiet, with the smell of wet grass filling the air. The boy was cautious, knowing that abandoned places could be dangerous, but Lily held his hand tightly and he felt a strong sense of determination. He refused to let anything happen to her. They finally reached a street that looked familiar to him, with high walls and neatly trimmed hedges. He guessed that they must be close. Lily stopped for a moment, turning slightly toward him. I think my house is here," she said, her voice a little hopeful but uncertain. He smiled gently. "Then we're here. Don't worry, we made it." Before he could knock on the door, it swung open and a man appeared. He looked shocked at the sight of a homeless boy carrying his daughter, soaking wet from the rain. His eyes widened in disbelief, but there was no anger, only relief and gratitude. "My daughter." "Thank you. You kept her safe," the man exclaimed, rushing forward to take Lily from him. The boy stepped back, feeling small and awkward in front of the enormous house, and the man who clearly had everything he had never known. I just wanted to make sure she was okay," he said quietly. The man studied him for a moment, as if seeing him for the first time. Then, with a gentle smile, he said, "You did more than that. You saved her." Lily looked up at him, smiling faintly, still holding the sleeve of his jacket. "He helped me," she said simply. The man nodded, realizing that the boy's courage and kindness had gone far beyond what anyone could expect. The boy didn't know it, but he had just performed an act that would change the course of his life. In that moment, the streets, the rain, and all his struggles seemed to fade away, replaced by the warmth of gratitude and the quiet strength of having done the right thing. As they stood there, the boy looked at the house, the bright light spilling onto the wet pavement, and felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. He couldn't imagine living in a place like this, having people care about him or even being offered help. But for now, he didn't ask for anything. He just wanted Lily to be safe. That was enough. The rain slowed and a soft light seemed to settle over the street. The boy knew this night would stay in his memory forever. Not because it was special in itself, but because he had chosen kindness in a world that often ignored it. And somehow he felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, life had a way of rewarding people who did the right thing, even when no one was watching. After leaving the edge of the street behind, the boy, whose name was Alex, felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders more than ever. Lily's small hand was still gripping his, and he could sense her anxiety as she stumbled slightly on the uneven pavement. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but the streets were still slick and crowded. He knew he had to get her home safely, but he had no idea where home really was. She had mentioned it was big, but she couldn't give him any landmarks. Alex took a deep breath and decided to start with what he knew: the bus routes. Public transportation was tricky, especially for someone who couldn't see, but he had ridden buses countless times, often pretending to know his stops so he could beg for change along the way. He guided Lily carefully onto a bus, making sure she held the pole tightly. She kept murmuring, "I hope I'm going the right way," and Alex felt a pang in his chest. How fragile life could feel when you couldn't see the world clearly. As the bus moved, Alex tried to make her feel comfortable. "It's okay," he said. "Just hold on, we'll get there. I promise." He realized how natural it was for him to protect her, even when he barely had a safe place himself. It was strange to think that helping someone else could give him a sense of purpose he had never had before. Do you live alone?" Alex asked, trying to break the silence. "No. My father. He works a lot," Lily replied softly. He has meetings and travels sometimes. I was supposed to be at a friend's place, but I got lost." Alex nodded. "I see, don't worry. I've got you." He didn't tell her that nights like this were usually the scariest for him too, but he wanted her to feel calm. The bus ride was long, and several times Lily shifted nervously, afraid of missing their stop. Alex kept his hand on hers, guiding her when necessary, feeling her small fingers tremble against his. He noticed how carefully she listened to the sounds around her, the hum of the engine, the brakes, the chatter of passengers. It reminded him of how resourceful people could be when faced with challenges, even when life seemed unfair. Eventually, the bus reached a stop near a wide road lined with trees and expensive-looking buildings. Alex helped Lily down the steps and they walked carefully, avoiding puddles. I think my house is close," Lily said, her voice wavering with hope. They passed through a narrow alley, quiet except for the dripping water from the roofs above. Alex's instincts screamed at him to be careful. He had spent years on the streets, and he knew how dangerous empty alleys could be, especially at night. But Lily seemed unaware of the danger. She simply walked beside him, trusting him completely. That trust gave him courage he hadn't felt in years. As they neared a well-lit street, a car suddenly honked nearby, startling Lily. She froze, and Alex immediately stepped in front of her. "It's okay, Lily," he said gently. "I've got you. Nothing's going to happen." He guided her past the car, feeling protective in a way that surprised him. Her life, fragile and precious, felt like it depended on him in that moment. They finally reached a small park, quiet and empty, except for the sound of raindrops hitting the leaves. The park was one of the few areas where he could slow down and let her feel safe for a moment. They sat on a damp bench, and Lily rested her head against his shoulder, exhausted from the long walk. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what I would have done without you." "You don't have to thank me," he said, brushing wet hair from her forehead. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay." For a moment they sat in silence, the soft rain and distant city sounds filling the space around them. Alex thought about his own life, the hunger, the cold nights, the loneliness. And yet, in this moment, helping Lily made all those struggles feel smaller, almost meaningful. He realized that sometimes life gave you chances to do the right thing, even when it was hard, and that those chances could change everything. After a short rest, they continued their journey. They walked past street vendors packing up their stalls, the smell of damp food and wet pavement filling the air. Lily stumbled once, and Alex caught her immediately. "Be careful," he said. "Almost there, I think." They reached a street with tall buildings, and Alex noticed the difference immediately. The structures were clean, well-lit, and orderly. The sidewalks were wide and free of debris, a stark contrast to the streets he knew so well. Lily's voice grew excited, though cautious. I think it's here," she said. Alex slowed, scanning the area. He couldn't see inside the buildings, but he could feel the change. The air seemed warmer, safer, almost different. He felt a strange mix of awe and nervousness. This was a world he had never belonged to, a world of comfort he could barely imagine. Yet his priority remained the same: get Lily home safely. They arrived at a large gate, its metal bars shining under the streetlights. Alex paused, unsure how to get inside. Do you know how to open this?" he asked. Lily reached out, fumbling with a small keypad. I think my father told me the code, but I'm not sure." Alex knelt to her level. "It's okay. Let's figure it out together." He guided her fingers over the numbers, and after a few tries, the gate clicked open. Lily smiled softly, relief washing over her voice. "We did it," she said. Inside, the driveway was long, lined with trees and shrubs, and leading up to a huge house that looked like something from a magazine. Alex couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. This was so far from the streets he knew, the puddles, the trash, the cold nights. He didn't know what he was supposed to do now. Before he could decide, the front door opened. A man appeared, his eyes wide with shock and concern. "Lily, there you are!" he exclaimed, rushing forward. Alex felt small and out of place as the man swept Lily into his arms, checking her quickly to make sure she was unharmed. I found her," Alex said quietly. "She was lost, and I helped her get here." The man looked at him carefully, his expression a mix of surprise and gratitude. You carried her through the streets? In this weather?" Alex nodded, feeling a little embarrassed. "Yes, I just wanted to make sure she was safe." The man's eyes softened, and he smiled gently. "You saved her. That was brave of you." Lily looked at him, smiling faintly. "He helped me," she said simply. The man knelt slightly, looking Alex in the eyes. "I don't know your name, but you have a good heart. Thank you for protecting my daughter." Alex shrugged, unsure how to respond. Compliments felt strange, and praise even stranger. He had spent most of his life surviving, not expecting anyone to notice his actions. Yet hearing those words gave him a warmth he hadn't felt in years. For a few moments they all stood there in the driveway, the rain now almost gone, leaving the air fresh and clean. Alex realized something important. He had made a difference tonight, and sometimes that was enough. He didn't have a home or money or even a proper bed, but he had done something meaningful, something that mattered. Lily leaned against him one last time before running into her father's arms. Alex watched, feeling a strange mix of pride and humility. He had helped someone in need, and in doing so he had found a connection he had never thought possible. As he turned to leave, the man called out, "Wait, please come inside. You're soaked and cold. Let me get you something dry." Alex hesitated. This world of warmth and luxury was foreign, but the kindness in the man's voice was real. For the first time in a long while, he considered accepting help not just for himself, but because someone had recognized his effort. He stepped forward, and for a brief moment, he allowed himself to imagine a life different from the streets, a life where he wasn't invisible, where his actions mattered, and where kindness could come back to him in ways he hadn't expected. And as he walked through the doorway, the warmth from inside enveloped him, washing away the cold and wetness from outside. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew this night had changed something inside him. Helping Lily had given him more than gratitude. It had given him hope. The house was enormous, more than Alex had ever imagined. It smelled faintly of flowers and polished wood, and the floors shone under the soft glow of the chandeliers. As he stepped inside, he realized just how different this world was from the streets he knew. Here there was warmth, comfort, and quiet order, things he had only dreamed about, never experienced. His soaked clothes stuck to his skin, and his shoes squelched on the shiny floor. But for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel invisible. Lily's father, a tall man with a calm and strong presence, led them further inside. He glanced at Alex with curiosity and gratitude. "You've done something extraordinary tonight," he said, carrying her through the streets in the rain. Not many people would have had the courage or heart to do that. Alex shrugged, unsure how to respond. Praise was unfamiliar to him. I just wanted to help," he said quietly. "She could have been hurt. I didn't want that." The man smiled softly, a mix of relief and admiration in his eyes. "That's exactly what matters. It's not wealth, not power. It's people like you who see what is right and act on it." Alex felt a strange warmth in his chest. For years he had survived by looking out for himself, by avoiding trouble and trusting almost no one. And now for the first time someone was recognizing something good in him. It was overwhelming yet comforting. Lily ran ahead, her small feet tapping lightly on the floor. She had reached the safety of her father's arms and hugged him tightly. Alex watched her, noticing how calm and happy she seemed now that she was home. Her fear was gone, replaced by relief and comfort. That was when Alex realized something important. His actions had not just helped her. They had restored a sense of security that she had lost. The man led Alex to a dry towel and offered him a warm drink. Alex hesitated but accepted, wrapping the towel around himself and sipping slowly. The warmth spread through his body, relaxing muscles he didn't realize were so tense. He looked around the room, seeing furniture, paintings, and decorations he had only ever seen in magazines or movies. It felt surreal, but he didn't let it distract him. His focus remained on Lily, who was now sitting comfortably near her father, looking up at him with gratitude. "You know," the man began, watching Alex carefully, "most people wouldn't have even stopped to help a stranger. You carried her, guided her, and kept her safe. That takes something rare, a kind of courage that can't be taught." Alex felt awkward at the words, unsure how to respond. Courage? He hadn't thought of it that way. He had just acted because it felt necessary. But hearing it named aloud made him feel proud, almost for the first time in his life. Lily's father looked thoughtful for a moment, then said, "I want to know more about you. Where are you from? What's your story?" Alex hesitated. His story was full of hardship, cold nights, hunger, and constant uncertainty. It was not a story he usually shared, but something about the man's calm, kind presence made him trust that he could be honest. I've been on the streets for a while," he began slowly. "I don't have a family looking out for me. I've been surviving day by day, mostly alone." The man nodded, listening carefully without judgment. "That's not easy," he said. "And yet tonight, you showed more responsibility and care than many people with everything in life could show." Alex felt his cheeks flush slightly. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Usually people ignored him, judged him, or treated him with suspicion. But here, someone saw his actions for what they were. It was a strange, uplifting feeling, and it made him want to do better. Not for reward, but because he realized he could make a difference. Lily, sensing the calm conversation, came over and stood beside Alex. She placed a small hand on his arm. "I'm glad you helped me," she said softly. "I wasn't scared when you were with me." Alex smiled faintly. "I'm glad too," he said. Her words made him feel like he mattered, like he had a place in someone's life, even if only for tonight. The man, observing the exchange, seemed to make a decision. "Alex," he said, "I know this might be sudden, but I want to offer you something. You've shown a rare heart tonight. I want to help you in any way I can. Alex felt his stomach tighten. He had lived most of his life with no expectations, no offers, no kindness that lasted. I don't know what to say, he murmured. You don't have to say anything now, the man replied. For tonight, just know that you have done something remarkable. And later, if you wish, there may be ways I can help you find stability. A place to stay, a chance to get back on your feet. Alex nodded slowly, unsure if he could accept such generosity. He was used to fending for himself, and the idea of help felt foreign. But he also recognized that this was real, and it was an opportunity he hadn't thought could exist. The night went on, quiet and calm. Lily eventually fell asleep, leaning against a cushion in the living room. Alex stayed nearby, unsure if he should leave or stay. The warmth and safety of the house felt strange yet comforting. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like he had to hide from the world, or fight to survive every moment. He thought about the streets he had walked, the rain that had soaked him, and the fear in Lily's voice. And he realized something important. Kindness mattered. It mattered more than anything else. His simple decision to help someone in need had changed the course of all their lives tonight. As he sat quietly, he noticed the man watching him from a distance. You know, the man said softly, sometimes the world tests people to see what kind of heart they have. You passed that test tonight. Alex looked at him, a mix of humility and surprise in his eyes. I didn't think of it like that, he admitted. I just wanted her to be safe. That's exactly what I mean, the man said with a gentle smile. The right thing isn't always easy, and it doesn't always bring rewards. But when it does, well, it can change everything. Alex felt a small spark of hope grow inside him. For years, life had been about survival, about getting by with whatever little he could find. But tonight had shown him a different possibility. A life where he could matter, where his actions could create real change, and where kindness could lead to opportunities he never imagined. He thought about the future, about what might come next. He didn't know if he would stay in this house forever, or if he would return to the streets eventually. But he realized that one small act, one decision to help someone in need had already altered the path of his life. That was something no one could take away. The night passed quietly, the house calm except for the soft sounds of rain still dripping outside. Alex sat, thinking about what had happened, about the courage it had taken to help Lily, and about the gratitude he had seen in her father's eyes. It was a powerful feeling, one that made him feel both humble and proud at the same time. And in that quiet moment, Alex understood something he had never realized before. Life could change in an instant, not because of luck or wealth, but because of the choices we make and the kindness we show. He had chosen to help someone, and that choice had opened a door to a future he had never dared to imagine. By the time the first light of dawn began to filter through the windows, Alex felt a sense of calm he hadn't felt in years. Lily was safe, her father was grateful, and for the first time he felt like he belonged somewhere, even if just for tonight. It was a small step, but it was a step toward something better, something meaningful, and something that could change his life forever. The next morning, Alex woke to the soft sounds of the house, the hum of the heating, the distant rustle of curtains, and the faint footsteps of someone moving quietly in the hallway. He blinked against the sunlight streaming through a large window and realized he was not in the streets. He wasn't in a cold, damp alley or under a bridge. For the first time in years, he was somewhere warm, safe, and quiet. Lily was already awake, sitting at the breakfast table with her father. She smiled softly when she saw him enter. "Good morning," she said. Her voice had a calmness and cheer that surprised Alex. She seemed at ease, almost like she had never been lost at all. "Good morning," Alex replied, rubbing his wet hair back with his hand. He felt awkward and out of place. Everything about this house, the furniture, the decorations, even the smell of breakfast cooking, was foreign to him. He wasn't sure if he belonged here, yet at the same time, he felt a strange sense of comfort. Lily's father noticed his unease and smiled gently. "You don't have to worry, Alex. You're safe here. You can stay as long as you need. Let us take care of you, at least for a little while." Alex hesitated, unused to such kindness. Usually, when someone offered help, there was a condition, a hidden expectation or judgment. But this felt different. I don't know what to say," he admitted. "You don't need to say anything," the man replied. Just eat and rest. That's enough for now. Alex joined them at the table. The food smelled delicious, and the warmth of the room made him realize just how hungry he was. He ate slowly, noticing how different it was to have a meal in comfort, without rushing, without fear of someone taking it away. Every bite reminded him of the life he had never known, and yet he didn't feel guilty or ashamed. He felt grateful. After breakfast, Lily's father led Alex on a tour of the house. It was massive, with high ceilings, polished floors, and rooms filled with light. There were bookshelves lining the walls, soft rugs on the floors, and windows that looked out over a garden full of flowers and trees. Alex felt both awe and discomfort. He wasn't used to wealth or luxury, but he tried to focus on what mattered, the kindness he had been shown and the opportunity to start over. "You must feel out of place," Lily's father said, noticing his nervous glances. "It's okay. Take your time. You don't need to fit in immediately." Alex nodded slowly. He appreciated the patience. People rarely gave him time to adjust. They expected him to survive and adapt instantly. But here, he felt like he could breathe, like he could exist without constantly worrying. As the day went on, Alex began to notice small things about the house and the family. Lily was kind, gentle, and curious. She asked him questions about his life, and while he was hesitant at first, he gradually opened up. He told her about the streets, about the nights when he slept under bridges, and about the meals he had to scavenge. She listened quietly, never judging, just showing a kind of understanding that surprised him. "You're really brave," she said finally. "I don't think I could have done what you did." Alex shrugged, feeling a little embarrassed. "I just did what I had to. I didn't want anything bad to happen to you." Her smile was soft, genuine. "Well, thank you. You saved me." That moment made Alex realize something important. Even small actions could have a big impact. He had thought of his act as ordinary, but to someone else it had been extraordinary. That thought gave him confidence he had never known before. As the day continued, Alex began helping around the house in small ways. He carried light things for the father, helped Lily with simple tasks, and even offered to tidy up a room. Each task, no matter how small, made him feel useful and valued. It was a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. At one point, Lily's father sat down with him in the study, a room filled with books and papers.
"Alex," he said, "I want to help you get back on your feet."
"I know life hasn't been easy, but you've shown character, courage, and kindness. Those qualities can take you far no matter where you start." Alex felt a lump in his throat. He wasn't used to being recognized for who he was rather than what he had or where he came from. I don't know if I can," he said quietly. "I've been on my own for so long. I don't know how to live any other way." "That's okay," the man replied gently. "We'll take it one step at a time. You don't need to know everything at once. What matters is that you have the chance to build a life, and that you are willing to try." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of those words. They weren't just empty promises, they were real. For the first time, someone believed in him without judgment. He felt a flicker of hope, a feeling he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Later, he spent time with Lily, exploring the garden and the quiet spaces around the house. They laughed together as she guided him through small games and shared stories from her life. She was patient, curious, and full of trust, and Alex felt a strange sense of family forming between them. He had never experienced such a bond before. By evening, Alex realized that the house, the kindness, and the warmth didn't make him uncomfortable anymore. Instead, they gave him a sense of belonging he hadn't thought possible. The fear that had always accompanied him, the fear of rejection, of danger, of being invisible, was slowly fading. As he lay down to sleep that night, in a room with soft sheets and a warm blanket, he reflected on the day. He had come from the streets carrying a girl he didn't know, and that simple act had opened a door to a life he hadn't imagined. He felt grateful, not just for the safety and warmth, but for the trust and recognition he had received. He realized that this was more than a temporary place to stay. It was a chance to learn, to grow, and to be more than the life he had known. And for the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to dream about a future that could be different, better, and full of hope. The next morning, the routine began slowly. Alex helped with chores, listened to Lily's stories, and even began to feel confident moving around the house without fear. Lily's father continued to encourage him. offering guidance and support without pressure or judgment. He was learning that life could be patient and kind, that he didn't have to face everything alone. As days passed, Alex's confidence grew. He began to see that the world wasn't entirely cruel or indifferent, that there were people willing to help, and that his own actions had value. He was learning slowly but surely that a single choice, one act of courage and kindness, could open doors he had never thought possible. He also began to realize that his bond with Lily was more than a simple friendship. She trusted him in ways no one else had, and her laughter, curiosity, and gentle words reminded him of the goodness in life. He felt responsible for her in a way that made him feel strong and capable. One evening, as they sat together in the garden watching the sunset, Lily's father approached. "Alex," he said, "you've been here a short time, but you've already made a difference. Not just for Lily, but for all of us. I want you to know that we see you. And if you're willing, we'd like to help you build a new life, one where you don't have to struggle alone." Alex looked at him, feeling overwhelmed. I don't know what to say," he admitted. "I've never had anyone offer something like this before." "You don't need to say anything," the man replied. "Just know that your courage, your kindness, and your heart have already changed things. And we'll be here to help you as you take the next steps." Alex nodded slowly, feeling the warmth of acceptance for the first time. He had survived on the streets for years, learning to trust no one. But now he had been shown that trust, patience, and kindness could exist in the world, and that they could lead to opportunities he had never imagined. That night, as Alex lay in his new bed, he realized that the hardest part of life wasn't surviving. It was learning to trust, to accept kindness, and to believe that he deserved a better future. And for the first time, he believed he could do that. Life had begun to change for Alex in ways he could never have imagined. The house that once felt enormous and overwhelming now felt like a place of comfort and safety. The hallways, the polished floors, and even the quiet garden became familiar to him. Most importantly, the people inside it had become a part of his world. Lily's father had been patient and kind, showing him that support could be given without expectation or judgment. And Lily herself had become a friend, a companion, and someone who reminded him of the goodness in life. Each morning, Alex would wake up and feel the difference immediately. He didn't have to worry about where he would sleep, whether he would find food, or if he would be safe on the streets. For the first time, he had a routine that was calm and structured. Breakfast was warm and filling, not a hurried search through trash bins. He helped Lily with small tasks, walked her through the garden, and listened to her stories about school and life. Slowly, he began to feel like a part of a family, even if it was a family he had never expected to have. It wasn't easy at first. The house, the wealth, and the order were overwhelming. Alex had grown up with chaos, learning to survive in unpredictability. Now he had to adjust to quiet rooms, rules, and expectations. It was strange to be asked to do chores, to be treated kindly, and to have time to rest. At first he resisted, thinking that kindness was temporary, that people's generosity had limits. But over time he realized that this was real, and that someone cared about him genuinely. He began to help more. He organized the kitchen, ran small errands, and even started helping with paperwork for Lily's father's business. Each task, no matter how simple, made him feel valued and capable. He discovered that his street-smart skills, his ability to navigate, his resourcefulness, his quick thinking, were useful in ways he had never imagined. His confidence grew. He began to believe in himself again, not just as a survivor, but as someone who could contribute, learn, and achieve. Lily and Alex developed a bond that was deeper than friendship. She trusted him completely, confiding in him about her fears, her dreams, and her feelings. He would guide her through her small challenges, help her navigate new places, and listen patiently when she wanted to talk. In return, she gave him warmth, companionship, and a sense of responsibility that he cherished. Caring for someone else gave his life new meaning. He realized that he didn't have to live only for survival anymore. He could live to protect, to help, and to grow. Lily's father noticed these changes and continued to encourage Alex. "You've come a long way," he said one evening, watching Alex help Lily with her schoolwork. "You've shown resilience, responsibility, and kindness. Those qualities will serve you well in life, and I want to help you make the most of them." Alex looked at him, feeling a mix of gratitude and disbelief. I don't know if I'm ready for that, he admitted. I've spent my life surviving. I don't know how to live any other way. That's okay, the man said gently. You don't need to know everything at once. Life is about small steps. You've already taken a huge one by trusting us and by allowing yourself to be helped. Everything else will follow. Over the weeks that followed, Alex began to explore more opportunities. He enrolled in a local school to continue his education, something he had never been able to do consistently before. At first, it was overwhelming. New rules, new subjects, and students who had lived very different lives. But he found that he could adapt. He worked hard, determined to prove to himself that he could succeed. His determination and resilience caught the attention of teachers and classmates alike, earning him respect that he had never experienced before. At home, he continued to support Lily and her father. He learned small life skills, cooking simple meals, managing daily tasks, and even helping with charitable projects that the family supported. Each day, he felt more competent, more confident, and more like a part of the world around him. The most significant change, however, was in his own heart. Alex realized that he was no longer defined solely by the streets, hunger, or loneliness. He had discovered that his kindness, courage, and determination were strengths. The simple act of helping Lily had opened doors, not just to safety and comfort, but to self-respect, hope, and a sense of belonging. One afternoon, as he walked with Lily through the garden, she stopped and turned toward him. Alex, she said softly, I'm really glad you helped me that night. I don't think I would be here without you. Alex smiled, feeling a lump in his throat. I'm glad too, he said. I didn't know it would change everything like this. It did, she said simply. You gave me safety and you gave my dad peace, and you helped yourself too. He nodded, realizing she was right. That night had indeed changed everything, not just for her, but for him. By helping someone, he had found purpose, trust, and a place where he belonged. As time went on, Alex began to plan for his future. He wanted to continue his education, learn new skills, and perhaps one day help others who were in situations like the one he had been in. He had seen firsthand how a single act of kindness could change a life, and he wanted to do the same for others. Lily's father supported him in every way. He arranged mentors, offered guidance, and helped Alex understand that his past didn't define his future. Slowly, Alex began to see possibilities he had never imagined. Possibilities that didn't exist on the streets but were now real because he had taken a chance, trusted someone, and acted with courage. Alex also learned about giving back. He began volunteering in small ways, helping those who were less fortunate, teaching children, and supporting local projects. Each act of kindness reminded him of the night he had carried Lily home, and he realized that life had a way of rewarding those who acted with a good heart. Through it all, his bond with Lily remained strong. They celebrated small victories together, her school achievements, his progress in learning, and simple joys like tending to the garden or watching sunsets. In each other, they found friendship, trust, and understanding. One evening, as Alex looked out of the window at the city lights, he reflected on how far he had come. Just a few months ago, he had been alone in the rain, struggling to survive. Now he had warmth, companionship, guidance, and hope. He realized that life could change in an instant and that courage, kindness, and trust were powerful forces that could open doors to a better future. He turned to Lily, who was laughing softly at a story her father was telling. Alex smiled, feeling contentment he had never known. He understood that life was no longer just about surviving. It was about living, growing, helping, and cherishing the connections that made existence meaningful. And as the night fell and the house grew quiet, Alex felt a deep sense of peace. He had been given a second chance, a new beginning, and he was determined to make the most of it. He had learned that courage and kindness could change lives, not just for others, but for oneself as well. That night, as he lay in his bed, Alex whispered softly to himself, I can do this. I can make a better life. It was not just a hope, it was a promise to himself, to Lily, and to the life that had finally opened its doors to him. And in that quiet, hopeful moment, he understood the most important lesson of all. No matter how hard life can be, one act of courage, one choice to help someone, can change everything. Alex closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the room, the safety of the house, and the love that surrounded him. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but he was ready. He had found his place in the world, a sense of purpose and the knowledge that even someone who had once lived on the streets could create a future full of hope, kindness, and endless possibilities.